So I hope that by now you have understood the cropping pattern. So let us move on to the further topic, that is we are going to discuss now the major crops that those are grown in our country. Although there is number of crop or there are number of crops which are grown, but we are only going to take some major crops which are grown in our country. A variety of food and non-food crops are grown in different parts of the country depending upon the variations in soil, climate and cultivation practices. Major crops grown in India are rice, wheat, millet, pulses, tea, coffee, sugarcane, oilseed, cotton and jute. So mainly we are going to discuss only about these crops. So before we proceed further, you must understand that what type of question is asked with reference to these crops. Mainly the climatic requirement with reference to temperature, rainfall and soil type, plus the area where they are grown, and also map question that plot the areas where rice is a major crop or wheat for that matter. This is the type of question which comes from these portion. In this portion there is not much to be explained. At the end of the chapter I will be sharing the table of the crops and their rainfall requirement, their soil type requirement, and in what kind of climatic temperature requirement. I will be sharing the table. You can refer to that table. So the first crop which we are going to understand is rice. It is the staple food crop of the majority of people in India. Our country is the second largest producer of rice in world after China. Keep underlining these things, these facts. These can be asked in 1 mark question. After our country is second largest producer of rice in world after China. It is a kharif crop. Kharif crop, if you know, which is grown during the onset of the monsoon. So it is a kharif crop which requires high temperature above 25 degrees Celsius, high humidity with annual rainfall above 100 centimeters. In the areas of less rainfall, it grows with the help of irrigation. Rice is grown in the plains of north and northeastern India, coastal areas and deltic region. Development of dense network and canal irrigation and tube wells have made it possible to grow rice in the areas of less rainfall such as Punjab, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh and parts of Rajasthan. So if you go through the map on page number 37 of your textbook, you will be able to see that majorly the eastern part and the southeastern part of the country is under the major area of the rice cultivation, whereas towards the north and the western part, north and northwestern part, that is under the minor areas of rice cultivation. So you can underline few characteristics or few important points from the paragraph, which is that number 1, it is a kharif crop. It requires temperature of above 25 degrees Celsius. Annual rainfall should be 100 centimeters, and wherever there is less of rainfall in those areas, it should be supplemented with enough of irrigation facilities, and it grows well in alluvial soil with more of clay content. So this table I am going to share with you at the end. So this is about rice cultivation, and from the map itself you can clearly identify the states where it is taken up as a major crop. And one very important thing to be noticed over here, that abundant of rice cultivation is being done in Punjab and Haryana, but to our surprise this crop does not belongs originally to Punjab and Haryana, and it has only been possible after the abundant of or sufficient irrigation facilities have been made available in western Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab and Haryana. This is the first crop. Then second crop which we have here is wheat. This is the second most important cereal crop. It is the main food crop in north and northwestern part of our country. This rabi crops require cool growing season and bright sunshine at the time of ripening. Now these are some peculiar features which is required by certain certain crops or wheat crop, I would say. What is the peculiar feature given over here? The characteristics you can again note down. Kharif crop, rice was Kharif crop. Opposite to it, wheat is a Rabi crop. And it requires cool growing season and bright sunshine at the time of ripening. When the seed of the wheat is ready in the plant, at that time it requires lot of sunshine so that the seed, the moisture from the seed gets washed away or it gets evaporated away and it turns into a juicy seed. It requires 50 to 75 centimeters of annual rainfall. In case of rice, we needed above 100 centimeters of rainfall, whereas in case of wheat, we need 50 to 75 centimeters of annual rainfall, but it should be evenly distributed over growing season. There are two important wheat growing zones in the country, Ganga Satluj Plain in northwest and the black soil region of Deccan. The major wheat producing states are Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan and parts of Madhya Pradesh. Again, the soil type which suits best to wheat is alluvial and black soil with the annual temperature of 18 to 20 degree Celsius. Only rainfall is given over here, so you can add soil also, that is alluvial soil and alluvial and black soil, and temperature should be ranging between 18 to 20 degree Celsius. So this is the second crop which we have done, and if you see the map on page number 39, you can clearly see the northern part is mainly concentrated or mainly consisting of major wheat growing area, whereas towards the south there are minor areas, minor growth cultivation of wheat that goes on. The map is completely opposite to that of rice. So you can also get another type of question over here. Give a comparison between climatic requirement of rice to that of wheat. 3 marks question. Alright, so next crop we have millets. Millets include certain group of crops which are grown in it, that is jowar, bajra, ragi are the important millets grown in India. Though these are known as coarser grains, they have very high nutritional values. So because of these nutritional values only, they are given due importance and they are used as variety of food grains in our diet. For example, ragi is very rich in iron, calcium, other micronutrients and roughage. Jowar is third most important food crop with respect to area and production. Again, 1 mark question. Jowar is third most important food crop with respect to area and production. It is a rain-fed crop mostly grown in moist areas which hardly needs irrigation. Major jowar producing states are Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh in 2011 and 12. Now this is a data specific related to 2011 and 12. There is not much to be explained in these topics. All you need to do is read it carefully once and just mark down the points that you can write in case it comes for 3 marks point of view. Then bajra grows well on the sandy soil and shallow black soil. Major bajra producing states are Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Gujarat and Haryana in 2011 and 12. If you talk about ragi, this is a crop of dry region and grows well on red, black, sandy, loamy and shallow black soil. Major ragi producing states are Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Jharkhand and Arunachal Pradesh. On and all, these types of crop do not require lot of rainfall. Then there is a soil comparison given for jowar, bajra and ragi and a comparison of the states in which they are grown. Then we have maize, very nutritional again, and it is a crop which is used both as food as well as fodder. So maize you have seen, makai, we as human being also eat them and it is also given to the animals as fodder. Fodder means pashuon ka chara. It is a kharif crop, that means it is grown during the kharif cropping season. It requires 21 to 27 degrees of temperature and it grows well in old alluvium soil. In the states like Bihar, maize is grown in Rabi season. Use of modern inputs such as high yielding variety seeds, fertilizer, irrigation have contributed to increasing production of maize. Major maize producing states are Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Madhya Pradesh. So, now if you are able to analyze, there is nothing much to be explained in this topic. Mainly the question or the answer that is being repeated again and again is mainly what is the rainfall requirement for that particular crop, what is the temperature requirement, in which states it is grown, and what is the soil type that is required to grow these types of crop. Next is pulses, dale. India is the largest producer as well as consumer of pulses in world. Yes, of course, you can analyze your own diet. If it is vegetable for one meal, it will be definitely pulses in the other meal. So it is a staple diet of Indians. These are the major source of protein in vegetarian diet. People who are not into non-vegetarian meals, their source of protein is majorly coming from pulses. Major pulses which are grown in India are tuar, that is arhar, urad, moong, masoor, peas, and gram. So, can you distinguish between which of these pulses are grown in Kharif season and which are grown in Rabi? Pulses need less of moisture and survive even in dry condition. And because these all the pulses are leguminous crops, so these crops except arhar, they helps in restoring the soil fertility by nitrogen fixing. So they are also grown as intermediate crop in order to fix up the soil nutrients which have been consumed by the previous crops. Therefore, these crops are mostly grown in rotation with other crops. Major pulses producing states in India are Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. So these were the major crops which were grown, or major grains which were grown in our country. If you talk about food crops other than grains, we have sugarcane, very important, but sugarcane is an annual crop. It is tropical as well as subtropical crop. That means it is grown in both the areas, northern as well as southern. It grows well in hot and humid climate. What type of climate does it need? Hot and humid climate. Temperature should be 21 to 27 degrees Celsius and annual rainfall should be 75 centimeters to 100 centimeters. Irrigation will be required in the region where rainfall is low, and it can be grown on variety of soil and needs manual labor for sowing to harvesting. India is the second largest producer of sugarcane only after Brazil. Brazil, which is the sugar ball. So sugarcane is the second. India is the second largest producer of sugarcane. So again, 1 mark question. You can underline this. It is the main source of sugar, gur, that is jaggery, khansari, and malose. These are the byproducts which are made out of sugarcane. The major sugarcane producing states are Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Bihar, Punjab, and Haryana. Then we have oil seeds. Oil seeds, you know that we have different types of oils which can be taken out from various sources. So that is what we are discussing in this paragraph. In the year 2014, India was the second largest producer of groundnut in the world after China. Again, 1 mark question. Groundnut also, India stood second after China. In the rapeseed production, India was third largest producer after Canada and China. It is for the year 2014, although the data given in your book relates to 2008. Different oil seeds are grown covering approximately 12%. The data has been updated here. It is 0.3% of the total cropped area of the country. Main oil seeds produced in India are groundnut, mustard, coconut, sesame, soya bean, castor seed, cottonseed, linseed, sunflower oil. You might have heard all these names in different brands in oil form. Most of these are edible and used as cooking medium. However, some of these are also used as a raw material in production of soap, cosmetic and ointment. So everybody knows this also, that whatever the soap and cosmetics we are using, there are certain kinds of oils which are used in their production. Groundnut is a kharif crop and accounts for about half of the major oilseed production in the country. We are only taking up the major oilseeds over here. First is groundnut. It is a kharif crop. It accounts for about half of the major oilseed produced in the country. Gujarat was the largest producer of groundnut, followed by Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu in 2011 and 12. Linseed and mustard are rabi crop. Sesame is a kharif crop in the north and rabi crops in South India. Castor seed is grown both as rabi and kharif crop. So not much of the details are given over here about these oil seeds, only little bit of introduction is given about them. So if you talk about another important food crops other than grains, the beverage crops, or we can say that is tea. Very, very important beverage of our diet, I would say, or our daily routine. Tea cultivation is an example of plantation agriculture. In the beginning we did tea estates, the agriculture which is done on larger area. So tea is one form of plantation agriculture. It is also an important beverage crop introduced in India initially by Britishers. Today most of the tea plantation are owned by Indians. So Britishers are the one who brought in the tea plantation into our country, but that was basically for their own benefit at that time. Tea plants grows well in tropical and subtropical climate, that is both in the northern as well as southern sides of our country, and it should be the climate endowed with deep and fertile, well drained soil rich in humus and organic content. Obviously the soil should be fertile, rich in humus and organic content, but one specific feature for tea plantation is that it requires abundant of rainfall, but it cannot stand stagnant water. That means tea plantation is usually done on the slopes, so that the abundant water coming in the form of rainfall does not stands in its root and it gets drained off. So it requires rich fertile soil which should be rich in humus and organic matter, and well drained soil, and on the slopy area they are grown. Tea bushes require warm and moist free climate all through the year. Frequent showers evenly distributed over the year ensures continuous growth of tender leaf. Tea is a labor intensive industry. It requires abundant, cheap and skilled labor. Tea is processed within the tea garden to restore its freshness. Major tea producing states are Assam, hills of Darjeeling and Jalpaiguri districts of West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. Apart from these, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Meghalaya, Andhra Pradesh and Tripura are also tea producing states in country. In 2014, India was second largest producer of tea after China and Turkey. So mainly we are second in all the references after China only. So tea, as you know, it is a very important beverage for Indians, and you have come to know that it is grown in both in the subtropical as well as tropical climate, and it requires alluvial fertile soil with rich in organic and humus content. Slopes should be there so that the water does not get stagnant, and it does not require all the rainfall at once, but it should be distributed. The rain showers should be distributed very well throughout the year. Very peculiar feature about tea plantation is that it requires abundant of skilled labor, and mainly if you have seen in the tea estates, mainly the women are preferred to pluck the tender tea leaves, because it needs lot of patience while doing this kind of work. That is why easy availability of cheap and skilled labor, especially women labor, is one of the priority prerequisite for the tea plantation. Secondly, this is one type of crop in which the processing of the raw material is done within the estates, so that the aroma or the freshness of the tea leaves can be maintained. Second important beverage is coffee. In 2014, India produced 3.5% of the world coffee production. Indian coffee is known in the world for its good quality. The Arabica variety, initially brought from Yemen, is produced in country. This is 1 mark question. This variety is in great demand all over the world. Initially, its cultivation was introduced in Baba Budan Hills, and even today its cultivation is continued to the Nilgiri Hills in Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Then we have further, next we have about horticulture, that is growing vegetable and fruits. In 2014, India was, or in 2008 as it is given here, India was the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables in the world after China. Again, after China, India is producer of tropical as well as temperate fruits. Mangoes of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, oranges of Nagpur, Cherrapunji, Meghalaya, bananas of Kerala, Mizoram, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, lychee and guava of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, pineapples of Meghalaya, grapes of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Maharashtra, apples, pears, apricots and walnuts of Jammu, Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh are in great demand all over the world. So definitely you might have experienced all these variety of fruits in your regular diet. India produces about 13% of world's vegetable. Again, 1 mark question. It is an important producer of pea, cauliflower, onion, cabbage, tomato, brinjal and potato. These are the usual vegetables which we have in our meals. Then we have, apart from the food crops, we have non-food crops, that is most important being rubber. Rubber is also a plantation crop, that is, it is grown on extensive piece of land which require lot of capital investment, it require lot of skilled labor, and here also the processing of the labor of the raw material is done at the site itself. So rubber, it is an equatorial crop, but under special circumstances or condition, it is also grown in tropical and subtropical area, and because India lies in subtropical and tropical zone, therefore rubber is grown in our country also. It requires moist and humid climate with annual rainfall of more than 200 centimeters and temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. Rubber is an important industrial raw material. It is mainly grown in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Garo Hills of Meghalaya. In 2010 and 11, India ranked 4th among world's natural rubber producer. This was about rubber. Then we have other fiber crops. That means out of which the fibers can be produced. So another fiber crops are cotton, jute, hemp, and natural silk are 4 major fiber crops that is grown in India. The first 3 are derived from crops grown in soil, and later is obtained from cocoons of the silkworm fed on the green leaves, especially the mulberry. Rearing of silkworms for the production of silk fiber is known as sericulture. So the process of rearing of silkworm for production of silk, this is called sericulture. And as it is said over here, it is produced from the cocoons of the silkworms, and that is how the silk is derived. And other are fiber crops, that is cotton, jute and hemp, that is grown from the crop in the form of crops. So first one is cotton. India is believed to be the original home of cotton plant. Cotton is one of the main raw materials for cotton textile industry. In 2014, India was second largest producer for cotton after China. Once again, cotton grows well in, now these are the climatic requirement, it grows well in drier parts of black cotton soil of the Deccan Plateau. It requires high temperature, light rainfall or irrigation, and very special feature, 210 frost-free days and bright sunshine for its growth. During the growing period, there has to be 210 frost-free days and bright sunshine at that time. Again, it is a kharif crop and it requires at least 6 to 8 months to mature. Major cotton producing states are Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. Mainly these states consist of black soil, which is very suitable for the cultivation of cotton crop. The last non-food crop is jute. It is known as golden fiber because jute was becoming very expensive due to increasing demand to curb down the pollution levels and to provide a substitute to the plastic and polythene bags. So that is why it was known as golden fiber. Jute grows well on well-drained fertile soils in the floodplains where soils are renewed every year. So if you have known this fact in your previous class, that jute is grown in the deltic region where you usually find the most finest alluvium that is deposited by the rivers before debouching itself into the sea. So this is the crop which is grown in the most fertile deltic region. It requires high temperature during the time of growth, and major states where they are grown is where it is grown is West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Odisha, Meghalaya, and lot of water supply is needed in order to process this crop, because it is a very rough fiber. So in order to soften it, when the jute bales are plucked, they are immersed in the water for a longer duration, and then it is further processed into different forms. And it is used for making different things such as gunny bags, mats, ropes, yarn, carpet and other artifacts. And due to its high cost, it is losing its market to the synthetic fibers and packing materials, particularly the nylon. Because there was an increase in the demand for jute products, that is why its cost also shooted up very high. But because it became outside the reach of a common man, therefore it is being substituted by different cheap material which is easily available in place of jute. That is why it is also known as golden fiber once again. So here also you can be asked this question, that why jute is known as golden fiber. Then with reference to cotton also, similar type of question can be asked. Give the climatic requirement for growing cotton, jute or rubber, etc. Then you also have pie diagram over here which shows you the consumption of natural rubber in 2010 and 11. You can go through these diagrams also. Questions can be asked. 1 mark question can be asked from these pie diagrams as well. The next topic is technological and institutional reforms. These were the reforms which were introduced with reference to agriculture by the government, so that the agriculture, the most important occupation which is providing livelihood to 60% of the population of country, can provide a sustainable income to the people, as well as keep pace with the increasing demand of food crops in the country. So that is why it was considered very important that certain reforms are to be brought, and there were several reforms or changes which were introduced. So here what you get from the first paragraph, the important question is that highlight the importance of technological and institutional reforms with reference to agriculture. So in this you have to give reasons, and if you go through the paragraph I'm going to read, you will be able to get the points from the paragraph itself. So it says that it was mentioned in the previous pages that agriculture has been practiced in India for thousands of years. Sustained uses of land without compatible techno-institutional changes have hindered the pace of agricultural development. In spite of the development of sources of irrigation, most of the farmers in large parts of the country still depend upon monsoon and natural fertility in order to carry on their agriculture. For growing population, this poses a serious challenge. Agriculture, which provides provides livelihood for more than 60% of its population needs some serious technical and institutional reform. Thus, some examples are given over here of the reforms which were introduced. So what does it says, and what importance do we get out of this paragraph about the technological and institutional reforms is that because India is largely an agricultural country, and when it is said that initially it was 75% and then now it has come down to 60% of population getting its livelihood from agriculture itself. But agriculture was being done with the traditional method in our country, and we were largely depending on monsoon for irrigation facilities, plus no artificial fertilizers or the chemical fertilizers were not used in the field. Therefore, the increasing pressure of population and the agricultural produce could not keep pace with one another. Therefore, it was felt that on dire basis, on very urgent basis, there are to be some important reforms, which needs to be incorporated with reference to agriculture. So there were certain institutional reforms such as collectivization, consolidation of the land holding, cooperation, and abolition of zamindari system, which have been mentioned here in your book. These were introduced, and various other technological reforms such as improved seeds, fertilizer, high yielding variety seed. Green revolution itself was a packaged technology, and then various schemes for the farmer and customer care services were provided. So we will be doing that in detail. Let us take up the institutional and technological reforms one by one. So the first institutional reform which was introduced was collectivization. Under this process, collectivization means that the small patch of the land is brought together, and collectively people do farming on that land, on that piece of land, and whatever the profits they are going to generate from that field, that will be distributed equally amongst all who have contributed in the labor form in that land holding. So this will reap benefit to several farmers at the same time. Second is consolidation of the land holding. Now, what was done under this was that instead of the fragments of land holding which a farmer has, on which mechanized farming is not possible to incorporate, instead of those fragmented lands, instead of those small patches of land, farmer was given a consolidated bigger piece of land to work upon, so that mechanized agriculture could be practiced. Again, it would reap more benefits to the farmer. Then, of course, you know that right from the beginning, lot of movies are also based on this kind of system that was prevalent in our society, that was zamindari system, that the landowners, huge landowners, would give their land on rent or hire laborers to work on the fields, and then ultimately they would take all the profit that would be because of the hard work of the farmer, and ultimately the farmer would not get anything in return. So this was a policy of the government under which the zamindari system was abolished. Now the farmer who is toiling hard in the field and the profits of that field will belong to the farmer himself. Then lastly, we have the cooperation. Cooperation means when people come together, people who are basically into similar kind of occupation, they come together, they pool their resources together, they create a fund for themselves, and in case of any emergency, that fund can be used in order to supplement the financial or any other kind of requirement by the farmers who have come together to do that work on cooperative mutual cooperation basis. So in that case also, the resources will be pooled together, and the profits will also be distributed amongst all the members of that cooperation. So these are some example of the institutional reforms. Then we have, next is were given priority to bring about institutional reforms in the country after independence. Land reform was the main focus of first 5-year plan, and right of inheritance has already led to fragmentation of the land holding, necessitating consolidation of holding. So this they have given, that how important was to consolidate the land holding, because due to right of inheritance, the property was going on further divided by amongst the legal heirs of the family. So the first 5-year plan laid emphasis on the land reforms in order to reform the agriculture system of our country. The laws of the land reforms were enacted, but the laws of implementation was lacking or lukewarm. So here you can also get a question: critically analyze the situation of institutional and technological reforms with reference to agriculture after independence. So these are the points of criticism, that although there were several changes or several reforms which were introduced, but because of lacking or lukewarm or very ignored attitude towards the implementation of these policies, these reforms could not give proper benefits to the farmers. Government of India embarked upon introducing agriculture reforms to improve Indian agriculture in 1960s and 1970. Green Revolution based on use of package technology and the White Revolution, Operation Flood, were some of the strategies initiated to improve lot of Indian agriculture. But this too led to concentration of development in few selected area. This point can further be given in the critical analysis of institutional and technological reforms. That means this Green Revolution and White Revolution can be given example in case of technological reforms also, because these were the reforms in agriculture with reference to technology. So what was Green Revolution? Everybody knows that it was a kind of a grain revolution. The other name was Grain Revolution, which was introduced in the 1960s and late 1960s and 70s. And this was a complete package technology which included high yielding variety seeds, capital intensive technology, and a lot of or bigger size of the land holding, and lot of rich farmers mainly benefited from this technology. And then Operation Flood, that relates to your White Revolution, that is for the cooperative societies, or the working on the basis of cooperation society with reference to milk. So these were the strategies which were initiated in certain areas, but not much of benefits. I would not say much of benefit with reference to Green Revolution or Operation Flood, because largely lot many changes have been introduced with these reforms, but still the benefits were concentrated to few areas only. And when you talk about critical analysis of Green Revolution, this is one of the major drawback which is given, that only few influential or already prosperous farmer could only gain the benefit out of this technology, as this technology was little expensive, and moreover this also created regional disparity. So these are examples of technological reforms also you can give over here. Therefore, in 1980s and 1990s, a comprehensive land development program was initiated, which included both institutional and technological reforms. So looking at the circumstances, government thought that we cannot afford to bring changes only in one sphere, so we must look for comprehensive development. That means all-round development with reference to these reforms. Therefore, technological as well as institutional reforms were incorporated together. Now further, if you take examples of technological reforms, you can give examples from here. Provisions for crop insurance against drought, flood, cyclone, fire, disease, establishment of Grameen Bank, cooperative societies and banks for providing loan facilities to the farmer at lower rate of interest were some of the important technological reforms which were brought in. Then Kisan Credit Card, Personal Accident Insurance Scheme are some other schemes which were introduced by the government for India for the benefit of the farmer. Special weather bulletins about agricultural program and customer care, minimum support price, and price for important crops to check exploitation of farmers by the speculators and the middlemen. All these were the facilities which were provided in form of improved technology, improved system to the farmers, so that farmers' exploitation can be avoided at the hands of anybody in between their profits. So this is a very, very important topic, and usually every year question comes in CBSE board exams from this topic. So this topic can be asked in 3 marks as well as 5 marks point of view. So the next topic is about Bhudan or Gramdan. Bhu means Bhumi. Bhumi Dan, and then Gram Dan, how it turned into Gram Dan. Gram Dan means village, gaon ka dan karna. So Mahatma Gandhi declared Vinoba Bhave as his spiritual hire. He also participated in Satyagraha as one of the foremost Satyagrahis. Vinoba Bhave, who was the spiritual hire of Mahatma Gandhi, and he also took part very actively in any of the Satyagraha that was launched by Mahatma Gandhi. So he was one of the votaries of Gandhi's concept of Gram Swarajya. After Gandhi's martyrdom, Vinoba Bhave undertook Padyatra to spread Gandhi's message, covered almost the entire country. So whatever was the Gandhian philosophy, Vinoba Bhave took the initiative to spread the Gandhian philosophy and laying emphasis on the development of the villages. So there was an incident which occurred that when he was once delivering his lecture at Panchampalli in Andhra Pradesh, some poor landless villagers demanded some land for their economic well-being. And Vinoba Bhave could not promise it to them immediately, but assured them to talk to Government of India regarding provisions of the land for them if they undertook cooperative farming. And suddenly, Sri Ramchandra Reddy, out of the crowd, he stood up and he offered his 80 acres of land to be distributed amongst 80 landless villages. This act was known as Bhudan. That means giving away your land to the landless farmers. So this act was known as Bhudan. Later, he traveled and introduced his idea widely all over India. He over here is Shri Ramchandra Reddy. What he did, he inspired others also to do same, and this is how landless farmers were getting land in form of gifts from the influential zamindar. Some zamindar owners of many villages offered to distribute some village among the landless. It was known as Gramdan. So later on, instead of gifting particular land, entire village was being gifted away. So that is how Bhudan turned into Gramdan. However, many landowners chose to provide some part of their land to the poor farmer due to the fear of Land Ceiling Act. This Bhudan Gramdan movement, initiated by Vinoba Bhave, is also known as Bloodless Revolution. So ultimately, because of the fear of Land Ceiling Act, few people were reluctant to give away the entire village or entire land. So they started gifting piece of or a patch of land to the landless farmer, and this act was known as Bloodless Revolution. So from here you get a question that explain Bloodless Revolution or what was Bhudan and Gramdan.